a behavior analyst from 916, Jenna French. And on that, through that webinar, you can see a sample of point sheets. There's ABC checkboxes, templates, partial interview form. She also speaks about common trends with data, supporting and interpreting graphs, as well as how to graph your data using Google Sheets. The other webinar was put on by Cara McGlenn and Kevin Horst from 916. And that details, they put together a training on maintaining relationships with students. So how we can maintain those, that engagement and those relationships over distance learning. Simply targets the benefits, the barriers, and creative ways to support students and make connections. Again, I will make sure that I tried to take everybody's information from the chat and recopy it, but it didn't allow me to do that. So I will take that information and compile it and put it onto our resources. So 916 are using to support our students and families over that distance learning. And then we have some closing connections that we'll make. And Teresa Wallace is going to walk us through the distance learning support hub.
Sure. All right, I'm going to share my screen here. You cannot share screen while another participant is sharing. Megan, you're going to have to stop sharing your screen here for a sec. Megan Halverson. Megan, you're frozen. Darn it. Hang on, everybody. Okay. You're frozen. Okay, there you go. Okay, hang on. Hang on. All right, I'm going. All right, so I'm going to share. Here we go. All right, so hopefully all of you have seen or had this website shared with you at this point. And if not, the bit.ly link, the short link is in the PowerPoint that Megan was sharing. But our huge portion of our special education staff and our teaching and learning staff put this together over the last 2 years. So I just wanted to walk you through a few things that you guys find helpful. So it's organized. Obviously, there's special education, there's teaching and learning, there's technology. I know a lot of you might need technology support. We're going to start in the special education section. Okay. So the way that we organized this was simple with instructional design, behavior supports, and related services. So I'll start with instructional design. We didn't organize this into disability-specific areas because most resources can be used for students with any type of disability. So we organized it based on the type of need you would have. So if it's a social thing, if it's unique coping skills or hygiene resources, they're all organized in that way. So you can either skip down and use these links along the side that are kind of shortcuts to more in page, or you can just scroll down. But obviously it's going to take a minute to load all of us on it. And if we record a webinar, internet problems are a reality at this point in time. But if you click on here, there's some templates for things. There's checklists. Some of these are available in both English and Spanish, like hygiene resources are. There's a wide variety of video models that are in the page and other social stories that are here. So I would just encourage you to poke around on the website if you haven't already. There are also places that you could make requests for things that might be missing, or you could just email me directly and say things that you might be looking for that we haven't put on the page yet. The other part that I wanted to show you was, unfortunately, I can't get to it with the chat on screen. Hang on a second. Come on. So fun. Okay, so under more pages up at the top, you can see there are other tabs and pages that you can go to. But I wanted to show you the professional development page.
Hey, Teresa, I don't want to interrupt you, but something's wrong with your audio. It's really hard to understand you. It's cracking and breaking. You're like very robotic. So I'm not sure what's happening, but it's been going on the whole time.
It must be an internet problem. So I'm going to stop
Teresa.
sharing. Oh, good. Yay.
To me, you sound good now.
Okay. Well, the key pieces here, I'm sorry that the audio was so terrible. the website is there. Please poke around and find things that you find as helpful. There are a lot of resources in there, anything from speech to behavior to OT, movement, to sensory breaks. Also, this page has professional development opportunities on there, both for you and for paraprofessionals, if you're looking for things for your pairs to be doing. And we're adding new resources to this page every week. So on the paraprofessional page, just keep scrolling. So under this available anytime, we have this entire section for special education PD. And a lot of these are things that our consultation team have put together, these trainings and our CEUs attached. So if you were to click here for a survey, you would get a quick survey and you get a CEU. So if paras are required to show efforts and show like a result of something that they were required to do, they could click there and have a document to show that they had done that. Okay. All right. Stop sharing and send it back to you.
All right, I apologize if people weren't able to see very well, but I just wanted to recap that on this website, there's a ton of resources that you can look at. Some you may have to ask permission for, so feel free to do that. There's also a ton of training. So if you're paraprofessionals or you are looking for professional development opportunities, please take advantage of that, and you will get CUs for that. Any questions around that? And again, that was a little difficult to hear, but you can follow up with any of us if you have questions. And yes, we will, there's the link right there. So thank you for that. All right, we are gonna start a resource share. So here's a quick agenda of the people that will be presenting and the information that we will be covering. I will be checking the chat, so if you have questions around specific things, feel free to ask, and we will go through there. First, we have Emily Thomas, and she will be discussing engagement through distance learning.
All right, I should be unmuted now. Everyone can hear me. I'd assume seeing some nods from the panelists. Awesome, thank you guys. I will make this full screen for us. So that the link is in the resources folder, as we said, and I put my contact information up here as well, but that'll be all in the resources for you later. And we're gonna talk about kind of some engagement in distance learning because we're in week 5 now, 6? I don't have any idea anymore, but we're well into it and kind of looking at some engagement ideas for the rest of the school year. So the first thing we'll talk about is what actually is engagement. What do we mean when we say engagement? So really quickly, briefly, engagement, you create engaging learning experiences. It needs to be meaningful. Students need to have a sense of competence. It needs to be autonomous, so students are doing the work as much as they can on their own. Collaborative is a great engagement tool. And then, of course, number 5 is the most important, is having positive teacher-student relationships, and that's really one of the things that we're all great at, and one of the things that we need to keep going throughout distance learning. And then promoting mastery. I linked to the article from Edutopia that actually talks about all of these in a little more in depth rather than my 30-second overview. So that's there if you'd like to go back and look at that, but just sort of so that we all kind of are thinking the same thing when we're talking about engagement. One other thing that I wanted to bring up is from WIDA and talking about the strengths of diverse learners and what kind of different strengths they bring and how you can use that to have different access points of engagement. I see there's a question that just popped up. I'll go grab that. Okay. I'll let somebody else answer that one in chat there. So I'm not going to read through this slide for you. I'm more put this in here as a resource with the link at the bottom. Oops, advanced too quickly. Down here at the bottom, there's the link to the full website with all of the resources on it. But this is sort of another thing to keep in mind, that diverse learners bring lots of different things to the classroom and to distance learning, and how you can use those to make the learning experience more engaging. And then here, engagement without burden. We know that all families are struggling right now, and we're all struggling right now. And so offering choice and enrichment without adding additional work to the families, the parents, the guardians. So just kind of being mindful of that and using diversity in resources, space, time, technology, non-technology related resources. So all of those things just to keep in mind. So here we have, so I'll go through, I think I've got 4 or 5 different ways that we can engage students. The first one I want to talk about is student voice. And a really great way to get student voice is to use some asynchronous video communication. While this is great, all 50, 60, some of us on the call can't be talking at once. If we were on a asynchronous platform such as Flipgrid, one person can post a video and everybody else can respond to it. So that's a great tool. It's completely free and it is based out of Minneapolis, which makes it sort of doubly awesome in my book. Make sure you double check your district policy before you start using it, and use school accounts for staff and students. And then just really briefly about what Flipgrid is. You can create a grid. A grid is sort of like your classroom, and then inside of it you'll have different little boards, basically topics, and then that'll be inside of that overarching control. One good tip when you're creating your grid, make it so that it is a school email, and then you can enter in all of the appropriate URLs. So I have the 916 example here, but that would be how you would do that. Okay. Another option would be to use something like Google Voice. And if your district has Google Voice turned on, give that number out to students, and then students can leave a voicemail to respond to a prompt or to a question, or you could have students call and give you a response. So you're still getting that student voice. You can still hear and have that interaction with them. If it's a voicemail, it's going to be that similar asynchronous to Flipgrid, but it requires less technology, or in person as well. Another great thing is student choice, and I know several of the people are going to talk about this, so I'm going to go through this at rapid fire speed. A great way to start with getting some student choice is using hyperdocs, and they're sort of a way to put the pedagogy in a visual manner on a doc. So you can have the engage part and explore, explain, apply, share, reflect, and extend the learning, really break down those sections that make a good quality lesson into a document and have students work through all of them. I included a sample lesson as well as a link to some templates for hyperdocs. Another option that might require less technology would be choice boards. They could be paper or digital. The example that I have here is from one of my colleagues at 916. His student had an assignment where they had to pick one of the 3 here to create a color wheel. Either paint a color wheel similar to what might be done in a classroom, using a found objects around their house and arranging them into a color wheel, or doing a digital color wheel where they find objects online and then arrange it in a Google drawing to make the actual color wheel. So my colleague's child decided to do this middle one, the found object one, and then spent a little while running around their house, finding all of these objects and then arranging them into a color wheel. It's just a different way to kind of engage the student and engage in a different way to get some of that learning and making sure they understand the concept, but maybe is a little more fun, engaging, and requires less technology. For example, just things around your house, things outside. Okay, student collaboration is another great way to do it. I really like to do this inside Google Slides, having students make a copy, either having a slide already created for students or having students create their own slides, depending on how they are doing, how your students are able to do that, and then they can work on their own slide. The group of students can collaborate together, and you can click on version history to see that. So I will actually exit out of presentation mode here really quickly just to show where that is. So if you want to see students collaborating, you can just have them make a copy, and then you'll see who is on each slide down the side. I can see that we have an anonymous squirrel and an anonymous wolverine in this presentation right now. And if they were on a particular slide, I could see which slide they were on. I also can see, using this all changes saved in Drive button, see the version history of the slides and see all of the changes that were made down the side over here. Okay. And then the last one is making it personal and accessible. This one I really like is the online voice recorder. You can record audio, and this could be either like students creating a podcast or some kind of audio response to something, or you can do it as a MP3 that you're going to add into your Google Slides, which is what this next one is. You can insert audio directly into a slide. So if you're doing, excuse me, down here at the bottom with this green arrow pointing down to it is where that audio is. But you can add this to it. I've seen people do this as part of where they're actually reading the slides or explaining something on the slides, explaining their thinking. Lots of different ways to use this tool. One tip when using the voice recorder, save it. If you're a Google district, save it to your Google Drive. If you're a Microsoft district, save it to your OneDrive. Save it to the same place that you want it to be in the presentation. These instructions happen to just be for Google Slides. Almost the same process is done for PowerPoint. Last two things. If you're creating sort of little screencast videos, two that I like are Screencast-O-Matic or Screencastify. Use the webcam option so that your students can see you either down, just small little face down in the corner, just to kind of make it a little bit more personal, a little bit more connected. And finally, send letters, send a postcard, send something to connect with your students and keep those relationships going. So those are my kind of engagement ideas: high tech, low tech, no tech, but just ways to keep our students engaged during this time. So I will stop sharing and hand it back over. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Emily. Those are some great ideas. And I appreciate the variety of ideas for people that don't have technology access and those that do. So thank you. All right, next we have Stephanie Snow. She's going to be targeting executive functioning, organization tools, supporting educational assistants, and supporting families.
Hey everybody, this is so great to be all together. I see some names that I haven't seen in a long time. So I'm gonna share my screen. My stuff is really quick. I'm really good at overdoing it, so I try to keep my visuals pretty basic and to the point. So, oopsies, that's not what I want. Okay, so supports and organizational tools for distance learning. So I started off sharing what I use with my educational assistants. They are really involved in my prep and planning. We do it week by week and all of those learning categories. Yeah, so I have them recording read alouds for a weekly book, helping with worksheets, building activities. Yeah, so all of that, we do that by month and by week. This is kind of my planning guide that kind of feeds into that monthly planning guide. Making sure that we have those ELOs and I-CAN statements. That's been really helpful when we're talking about each student's IEPs and what skills they're working on. Each of these areas, reading, writing, handwriting, word study, all the way on, at the beginning of distance learning, each family got a binder that was broken up into these categories. So over here where it says learning choices and activities, they got a visual schedule and laminated piece of paper that students can build their own visual schedule for that learning category or topic. So everything here is really general, and then everything here gets rotated out weekly. Each family also gets a packet from me each week with new activities. So when we think about each family's distance learning plan, all of my families have really different plans. Some kids aren't able to utilize technology. Some kids aren't able to utilize paper activities because they get torn up or thrown in the garbage. And so each family gets a packet from me every week that's organized by these topics. I was really upfront with families right away that this is really like a buffet of options. That's why we call it learning choices and activities. So they can pick their own adventure. If they want to do a tiny thing one day and 5 things the next day, that's totally okay. They have the option of sending me a Google text, sending me a picture, submitting a document into a Google Drive, or emailing me. All of those options are out there, and every family's picking a different way. I also have a classroom website that's updated with everything that's sent home to families as well. So they have the option to access electronically if that's something that works for them, or they can just use the stuff that's sent home. That's okay too. So I record videos for the different activities that are paired into that week and put them on the website. My staff are awesome in recording those videos and linking them as well. My computer and internet are really slow. I don't know if anybody else's is, but typically there's a bar of like nature-based activities, literacy, math, all of those things that are sent home to the families each week are also linked up at the top here, but they're non-existent right now. This is also a form that some families are choosing to use. It's basically just a way that they can update me on how things are going or ask for more resources, ask questions. I included, if they are submitting actual paperwork or stuff electronically, to include just like a quick symbol or way to tell me if a kid did it independently or not. I think we've all seen that some families are helping more than others, which is totally okay. We just want to know. All right, and then next I have just my way I'm organizing things for the educational assistants in my room. I have 3 assistants right now. They've done a great job of keeping active and checking this document. This is a document that's also paired with that monthly planning document. And then we have things broken down into priority lists. So they can work on some things more than other things. The first priority is that the stuff is prepped for the next week. And then there's other things that they can work on. And that's all I decided to share. I did not put the visual schedules that I have for each learning topic and category on here. I thought that might be a little much. So that's all I have for now. If you have any questions, let me know.
Thank you so much, Steph. We also wanted to note that the templates that Steph shared at the beginning are also on that, you can find it on that bit file. So the resources website in special education under DCD templates. So thank you guys so much. All right, next we have Shannon.
Okay, I wanted to share with you guys a little bit just about my background. I work in a setting 3 classroom, and I have littles. I have K1. So these are kind of centered around kindergarten, first grade classroom, and our building was able to provide everyone with technology. So most of my kids have a tablet. And then our platform is Seesaw. So we are using Seesaw to push out our lessons. So my setup is my kids have choice boards. And so each day I ask them to do 5 things from the choice board. So this is what my choice board looks like. I also do a mini lesson, and so they can see me every day. And then I also assign them 2 activities in Seesaw. I will say that I'm being very flexible with my families. I have 2 families where this did not work for the kiddos, and so I'm doing paper pencil stuff for them. So we're kind of learning as we go. Most of my families, this has been really successful. And I do like Seesaw in the way that this is working. The kids are able to go in and do lessons, and then they're also able to do some recordings for me, which is really nice. Seesaw had tons of things with great lessons, but I found lots of times I had to go in and edit the directions to add things like when they did recordings for me, that they could use their own voice or the communication device. I wanted to make it friendly toward our population, because Seesaw was typically, I felt like it was typically used for gen ed kids. So I wanted to make it usable for our kids. And most of the lessons I recorded my voice giving the directions so they could hear it, because a lot of my kids are minimal readers or not reading yet. For my choice boards, we have the 5 categories. We have literacy, math, the functional communication and social skills is together. We have some DAPE, OT, and movement activities, and then some social studies, science, art, and health. This seems to be really working for them. I ask them to do 1 activity from each category each day. In order to push this out for each of the kids, I do put it into Seesaw, and then I ask them to share it with me at the end of the day. So I push this out as a Seesaw activity, then they go into the template and they mark off what they did each day. Being kiddos on the spectrum, I felt like this would be helpful to them to have a visual and then to also mark off what they did. This seems to be really helping them for doing these sorts of things, and then they can see, okay, I did my 5 things, I'm done. I've gotten really good feedback from the parents that having that visual piece has been helpful to them. Another thing that was mentioned earlier was Screencastify, and I have been using that for my morning meetings and also for leveled books to try and do kind of a little guided reading lesson with them. So I know previously mentioned, and this is taking forever to load, was just the fact that you can use this to have a picture, kind of you up in the corner when you're using this. So as you can see, this was a real casual day for me, but you can have yourself up in the corner and narrating or reading the story, giving some directions. And so I'm able to do this with our guided reading books or with our literacy books for our math program, and I can push it out to them. One thing I did this week was I assigned them each a book, and then they were able to practice it. And then when I met with them on Zoom, some of the kiddos were able to then read the book to me. That was really helpful to have an activity to do with them in Zoom. Our Zoom meetings have been really rough because some of my kids are nonverbal, and it's hard for them to interact with me on that format. And so it usually ends up being me helping the parents troubleshoot, which is productive. But also that's, as far as interacting with them via Zoom, I will say that's been tricky. I feel like it's been easier to do the asynchronous things. So if anyone has ideas for interacting with littles via Zoom who are minimally verbal, I would welcome those. So anyway, that's how I've been using choice boards and Seesaw. So thanks, guys.
Thank you so much, Shannon. Those are great ideas. And I really appreciate everybody's collaboration and communication. If you have questions, please put them in the chat and we can connect people via that way as well. So thank you. Next, we have Megan Martin. She's going to be discussing Google Classroom, virtual circles, so those restorative justice circles, student goal and attendance, tracking through a Google form, as well as student daily expectations.
Okay, hi everyone. I'm just going to introduce myself since I would assume the majority of you guys don't know who I am before I screen share and start talking. So I'm Megan Martin. I am a special ed teacher at 916's Assessment Center. I've been the teacher here for the past 2 years, and the Assessment Center serves students 5th grade through 12th grade from all of our member districts, and they're referred to us in order for that student to receive a comprehensive evaluation, and the students are with me for 45 days while we complete that evaluation. So I have a very unique class room setting. However, the previous 11 years of my career have been spent working in secondary programs, settings 1 through 3, EBD and SLD. So I have been in all settings and really understand the challenges and uniquenesses to all of these different settings. So hopefully today some of these resources can be helpful to some. Let me screen share here. Okay. I'm so used to using Google Meet. Zoom is like, you know, you think this would be the same, but man. All right. Okay, so I'm first just going to kind of talk about the platform we use with our students. We use Google Classroom to kind of house, like I'm sure many do, our classwork, our engagement, and our curriculum that we're putting out. Our programs do have the unique nature in which they need to do the expectations of our program while also meeting the expectations of our member districts, their curriculum and their program. So it's a balancing act between being able to navigate those two things. So we use Google Classroom, and this is kind of how we have it set up. We do Virtual Circle, which I'll talk about, social skills, Newsella, which I'll talk more about, their daily expectations, physical education. Miss Grish, this is kind of how we talk about our EA engagement and how we utilize our EAs and the creation of work and academics that they add to our classroom pages, and then resources. So this is how our Google Classroom is set up. For social skills, we have a bunch of different units that we rotate through on a weekly basis. So we have units on mindfulness, social justice, discrimination, communication, decision-making, executive functioning, goal setting, identity, kindness and empathy, social responsibility, and mindset. And because our students are with us for 45 days, we're able to cycle those units in that curriculum on a weekly basis. But we have spent a lot of time as a team developing those units and that curriculum. And I'm happy to share that with people if anybody is looking to add to their social skills or looking for social skills units. You can reach out to Megan or myself, Megan, and let me know, and I'm happy to make copies of some of those resources and send them your way if you want them to. But those are just kind of the main categories that as a program we focus on within their 9 weeks with us. And we've been altering them a little bit for virtual learning versus classroom learning. So we're kind of taking the units that we had and we're altering them to fit this virtual space, changing the expectations, lengthening the amount of time in which we give students to do them so that it's just more successful for the students. So that's just kind of how our Google Classroom is set up. In regards to virtual circles, that's a big part of our program when we're face-to-face. We use restorative justice for many different aspects, but one of the main things we use it for is community building. We do community building circles daily in our programs, and we did not want that to be lost as we moved into this virtual learning. So we started by doing virtual circles online. And as you can see, there are a whole gamut of different questions that are posted. On here are posted the expectations to our virtual circle and how that looks, what that looks like. And this week we started moving our virtual circles to video chat format. So now once a week, we're meeting as a whole program and we're doing virtual circle together to kind of have that connectedness for students to have engagement with other students. And that's been really successful and students are really liking kind of being able to connect. But kind of going back to as when our team kind of created all of this, our goal was to keep a trauma-informed lens. We work really hard to do that when we're in the classroom, and we didn't want that trauma-informed lens to be lost when we were moving forward into this format. So the things that all the stuff that we're creating is really based off of kind of those 3 trauma-informed lenses: sense of safety, connectedness, and providing our students hope. So through these different activities, we're trying to meet their sense of safety by helping them communicate and being connected to others, by helping them connect with students and feeling like they have a community still, and then just by offering them hope through movement, mindfulness, virtual meetings, all of those different things. So that's kind of been the core basis of what everything comes back to when we plan things for our students. So that is Google Classroom. We update it daily for students. And for student expectations, so for each of our individual students, we created their own daily expectation sheets. And all this information was sent home to them before this started. So they have organized binders with all of this information, as well as the virtual online information that's provided, so they can access it in either way. But for their daily schedules, we just kind of made a checklist for all of our students so that they know what they need to get through on a daily basis, and they know what they need to engage in daily. We do daily virtual check-ins with every one of our students every day. And I know that can be a lot, but we've found it to be extremely successful in keeping our students engaged and just keeping kind of their spirits up, connecting to them. We kind of divide and conquer. There are, on my team, for my caseload, there are 3 staff, 2 of us and an educational assistant. So we kind of, take students at different times so that we're not all having to be on Zoom conferences all day long with students. And every student has their daily check-in time. That does not change. It may change which staff checks in with them at that time, but they always know that they have to be present at that time for a check-in. And that time just allows us to talk, have fun, connect. And it also allows us to, if they haven't been doing any work, that's the time when I'll put up lessons, I'll screen share them, we'll talk through them. Students who are having a hard time coming to the computer, that's when I'll just let them verbally give me answers and participate in things. So it's a really great way to connect. But we have our virtual check-in for attendance right now. The restorative justice participation and the daily check-in with us is how we are tracking their attendance. Newsella articles is another thing. Their social skill units, which we do 1 per week. The virtual questions. We have PE bingo, which is very much like the choice boards that others have been sharing. We have mindfulness curriculum on there, and mindfulness, we use Calm a lot. So we will do that with students virtually, or we'll just post videos of ourselves doing a mindfulness minute that students can tune into if they'd like to. This is kind of the idea for our students who are keeping up with their district work curriculum to, kind of a visual way of, okay, what do I need to get done for that as well? And then, like I said, like many others, choice boards. So for when things seem like there are too much or you're not sure what to access, students have choices to pick and select throughout their day as well. So when we do our daily virtual check-in, this is what we go through with the students. So we do it together. So it doesn't feel like this huge overwhelming thing for students. And by the end of the check-in, a lot of the times, a lot of their work was able to be done, or they can finish it as soon as they get off the check-in with us. We've been using this Google form is kind of a way to track things. We're tweaking it as we're learning and as we're going, but every day we fill one of these out for every student. We just choose the student, the date. Our team came up with this. Students will demonstrate a range of communication skills and cultivate relationships. That's what we deemed most important when all of this started as a team. And that's what we really wanted to track, starting with students as how they were engaging. Were they participating in the circle question, interacting on Google Classroom? So that's kind of what we're tracking. But as we've been moving on, we've been using individual student goals too, and creating those forms to track that for students. We also track how we're in contact with students. So these are all the different ways: email, phone, voicemail, Google Classroom, Google Hangout, Google Meet. We use Seesaw, not for curriculum, but just for parent communication, to send information, videos, things like that, as well as Google Voice and Google Text. So this is kind of a way for us to say, did we attempted contact or we made successful contact through, especially for those days when we don't hear from our students or we haven't heard from anybody. It's just kind of a way to track that. And then the same with parents. How are we communicating with parents? Which ways are we reaching out on a daily basis? What does that look like? The thing we added that was new recently this week that we're still kind of toying with is this idea of engagement, as in we have a lot of students who have a lot of barriers to accessing education, to just accessing this in general. And we've kind of noticed a trend in our students of, even though they show up to Virtual Circle, just kind of like being present, not being present, having a really hard day versus not. And we've been finding kind of some trends in our students and what that looks like. So we're trying to think of a way in which we can track that individually for each student and what that engagement looks like for them individually. So that's something new that we added that we're still kind of working out, but that we want to start tracking as we move forward with this. So like I said, every day we just fill this out for our students. Let's see here. Engagement. So I know this form was shared with all of you. We've just been doing as much as we can to have fun, to laugh, and to engage students in these activities. So, you know, like many, I'm sure, parents and teachers, I've learned TikTok. I've been posting daily or weekly challenges, like plank challenges, wall sit challenges, push-up challenges, just to try and be funny and engage them in a different way, and then have students participate, see if they can beat my time, see if they can do things like that. Our virtual check-ins with our students, like I said, we've been mailing things to our students. So with their expectation sheets, we kind of tally up points and how many points did they earn if they were able to do so many things, or like they nailed it and they got everything done. Like last week, I sent a bag of Sun Chips in the mail. From Amazon. So just really simple things, especially when you know what students really like, really simple, easy snacks that doesn't cost a lot of money or a lot of time. It's just a really easy, nice way for a student to get something in the mail, even if it's as simple as a bag of Jolly Ranchers or a bag of Sun Chips, just to help with that engagement piece. We've been doing Friday game days where we come together as an entire community and we play Family Feud. We kind of do that. So that takes place of their virtual check-ins, is just that game day, just to have fun, and the week on a fun note connected to people. And then, like I said, now we're doing our weekly group circle as another thing. So those are all just different things we try and put in different engagement activities as we go. Newsella is something that I use. It's something that you have to paid for membership. So I understand that that is not accessible to a lot of people. But if you do have access to Newsella, it's an awesome resource for students. It is a website in which I can assign daily relevant articles to students, and it assigns them at their grade level. It tracks their comprehension. It tracks their fluency. It just gives you kind of a whole picture of a student, where they're reading at, and what their reading looks like. It reads to the student if it wants to. They can annotate, they can highlight. So it's a really cool resource if your district does have access to Newsella. This is something our students do on a daily basis as well. So I think those are the main things. Feel free to reach out if you have any other questions, or if you want more information or more resources, especially in regards to any of the curriculum that our team uses, because we're happy to share.
So Amy, you're gonna have to share your screen with the group. I don't know if you're on mute right now.
I think I just unmuted it. Can you hear me?
Perfect, thank you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sounds good. I'm new to Zoom too, so I'm sorry, you guys. I'm trying to figure this whole thing out. I'm used to Google, so we'll go ahead and try sharing screen and see if it pops up for you guys. Does everybody see that?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So I'll go ahead and introduce myself. My name is Amy Youngren. I am a social worker that works at District 916. This year, I actually am contracted to work in the White Bear Lake School District. And so I work with early childhood programs all the way up to junior high. And And so that's been fun and challenging, just because they have all different needs, all the way from littles to, you know, kids just kind of trying to figure out who they are and some of that independence aspect. So in moving into distance learning, one of the themes that kind of came out of conversations with parents and students was just around having just self-regulation tools, as well as like a space to go, because in a lot of our programs we do have spaces for kids to go if they need to take a break. And so a lot of the families had reached out about how could we set things up at home, similar to what we were getting in schools. And so from that, a social work colleague and I decided to look at creating what was called a virtual calming space. And this idea, I can't take full credit. This idea, basically, my stepkids go to the Osseo School District, and so they had sent out a virtual calming space to us as parents to see. And so in seeing that, it kind of gave me an idea of where to go with creating my own space. And so the other social work colleague and myself worked together to create the virtual calming space. She created one more specific to her population of students, and then I created one more specifically to the population of students that I'm currently working with. So I'll go ahead and just show you kind of what is on this space. And so the front part just talks about the space, and then it's broken down into different sections. And this was basically on feedback from families and students on what they felt like they needed most. And so our first section is breathing activities. So it has a bunch of different breathing activities for a variety of different ages. I'm gonna see if I can try to do the preview mode so you can just see if it'll let me. Sorry, you guys. Okay, there we go. So I tried to make sure that there was enough activities on here that suited kind of pre-K through junior high. So there is quite a few activities, but wanted to make sure that kind of all ages were covered for families. And then the next section was guided imagery. And so this section is just broken down into various places, or different things that we had worked on before. So like I put the glitter calming bottle because we use that a lot in groups when they're with me. But then we also did different scenes. So like rainforest, space. I tried to come up with a variety of different places, just because everybody's needs are so different and everybody has kind of a favorite that they like to go to. So I tried to make sure I got a variety of different images there. We have a section for music. And so again, pretty kind of similar to the other pages, variety of different music. I did mindfulness and brain breaks. And I did divide them by sections to make it a little bit easier too for families. So there's like a preschool, elementary mindfulness videos. And then there's a preschool, elementary brain break videos. There's middle school and high school mindfulness videos. And then middle school and high school brain break videos. I tried to make sure that there was enough for kind of all grades. And then included a coloring, puzzles, and more page. And so on this page, there are some printable activities. So a certain amount of families wanted some like hands-on printable things that they could do. So the first one is like that printable mandala coloring. So if a family clicks on this page, there's a bunch of different mandalas that they can download and print. This jigsaw puzzle one's pretty cool. Families can actually work together to do just jigsaw puzzles online. And it's divided by just number of pieces. So families can choose the number of pieces too, based on kind of where their child is at. So like my 3-year-old, we did a 12 piece puzzle the other night, and we just picked like a kitty cat one. So you can find themes that are appropriate for kind of your age groups too. Oops, sorry. And then word search. This is another fun one you can actually complete online together as a family, and so, or individually too. So there's a bunch of different themes for those word searches, and then you can actually drag your cursor over once you find the word and it highlights it for you. And then there are some printable crossword puzzles and things for families that would like to do that. And then if you scroll down further, there's some printable breathing activities. So families that want to print off some actual breathing activities to do with students, there's like a leaf tracing one. There's the 5-hand tracing breathing activity. So tried to put a few in there that students used when they were working with me so that they were some common ones. And then there's this folder that will have some family fun activities. So I tried to find some things that were just fun for families to do, like scavenger hunts. I have some spring ones in there as well as summer. So if families want to go out on a walk and they want to use those scavenger hunts, that's in there. There's COVID-19 time capsules, both for elementary as well as middle and high school families. So that's kind of a fun activity, like different things that are happening in our world right now, and families can record that and then keep it for later. And then I did put another folder that says more. And so in that folder is more of like virtual field trips and different places that families can go. There's also some virtual story times and things like that. So there's links in there. And it's pretty easy. Like when we click into those folders, I'll just pull up the more one so you can kind of see. When I click into the more one, if you go into like live camera adventures, for example, sorry, it's pretty slow. I tried to link it right there. So all the families had to do was click on San Diego Zoo and it pulls up the live camera videos of favorite animals that families can see. So in each of those folders is links similar to that. And then in the more activities, another thing that I've been letting families know is that I'm not gonna take videos down, for example, because I know that there's quite a few students that really like certain videos, and I don't want those to go away. So as I get more suggestions for videos, a lot of times I will be putting them in that more section, just so that families can access additional things that they want, but then not getting rid of videos in case there is someone that's like, I really want to keep watching the rainforest video. I mean, my 3-year-old really wants to keep watching the rainfall video, and if that went away, we'd probably have a really hard time. And so I wanted to be mindful of that too. So that is what I have. If you guys have any questions, I'm happy to answer anything. Otherwise, I believe this link to the calming space is in the folder also. So you're welcome to have this link and share it out with families. You're welcome to share it out with other staff. It was made to be shared. So feel free to share and use it as a resource. And if there's things that you feel like you want on there that you haven't seen, feel free to email me too, and I'm happy to add that into the more section also.
Thank you so much, Amy. This is awesome. I appreciate the wide range of activities and age groups that you covered. It's an awesome support.
Yeah, no problem. Now I got to figure out how to not share it. I'm sorry. There we go.
All right.
Perfect.
Next,
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, next we have Claudia Borman.
Hey everybody, I'm Claudia Borman. I'm an autism resource specialist for 916. I'm just trying to get my multiple monitors here figured out in my brain. I'm going to talk a little bit about some distance learning activities that you can do that are social within a Google Meet or Zoom. So I'm going to pull up my screen. Give me a second. I have 2 monitors going, which is really, really helpful. Because when I'm doing this, then I can see what I'm presenting, and then I can also see everybody else when I'm working with kids. So this is a collection of activities that came from one of the many, many COVID slides, COVID groups on Facebook. And I've used some of these, so I wanted to share these, and this will be in the document that Megan and Teresa send out for the network. But here's some just fun activities, and I'll go through these kind of quickly, and then I'll show some lessons that I've used with classrooms. Oh, and I'm an autism resource specialist, so I'm not a classroom teacher. So how I've been using these for myself is in order to be mindful of not thinking about putting too much pressure on families and scheduling too many million Google Meets. I've asked teachers if I could pop in and join and do a few of these activities with their class, maybe once a week or so. So that's how I've used them. But you could definitely incorporate them however you wanted. And this is not cooperating. So the first one I have is Spot It, which is a really common game that you guys have probably all played. The nice thing about this file is they have the directions on there. So this one works really well if you're doing a smaller group session. So you can have kids kind of compete for time to see which two items are the same. And there's a number of slides that kids have really liked doing this. I'm just going to zoom through some of these. Let me know if I'm going too fast. Another one called Face Off. You share your screen so that you pretty much say Simon Says, and you can use it with math facts or different activities to see how fast they can answer it. Scavenger Hunt, I'm not going to go over, everybody's done those. Mystery Box, this was kind of a fun one. You can play that with pictures, or you can use things that you have in your house. So I'll show you an example. I did this with the kids and they really liked this one. So you show, if you use pictures, I'd show the screen and give them an amount of time they have to kind of memorize, let's say, like 30 seconds, 20 seconds. And then you go to the next screen and ask them if they can recall what was missing from the first one. So if you don't recall, in the first one, the rainbow is missing in the second one. And the kids really liked doing this one. So there's a lot of those. I'm just going to skip through them really quickly. That one. Since that's another really fun one you can do, play it like normal, the change game. You want someone to be the leader and turn around and show the class what they look like. Change 3 things about themselves and then come back onto the screen. Kids really like doing that. 20 questions is pretty common one, but you can easily monitor that or modify that for doing Google Activities or Zoom. Different activities, different categories that are under. Find It Fast, this is another one they really like that is similar to Spot It, but it's a little bit more difficult. And so you can have them play in pairs or you can play with your whole class, but they have animals instead of just little objects. That's another fun one we've done. The kids have really liked doing that. So just so you can see, I'm going to show you another slide. This is another activity I've done. This is an actual lesson plan I used with a classroom. And yes, I give them an incentive of dressing up like a dinosaur if everybody participated, which I did, and they liked it. It really worked. So we played, this is the slides that I had up during the class, during our Google Meet. So we played a quick listening game. I gave them this cue so they could see, make sure they had their microphone off when they were not talking. And I prompted them if they needed it or not. And so quick listening is giving them the direction, and then you're watching to see if everybody does it right away, super fast. I modified this to have some visuals on it. If you wanted to make it a little bit more difficult, you could verbally tell them what to do. But they really liked this, and it was a good way to kind of get everybody moving and listening quickly. We had a few slides for them to do. And then moved on to the next activity, which was Disney Color Brain. And this was just a simple activity. And I was having them practice too. This was a younger group, so I was having them practice muting themselves and unmuting themselves because it was really difficult to hear everybody when they were talking at the same time. So then they just had to tell me what color they thought each character was, and it would, if they got whatever they guessed, then click on it and pull up the picture and they could see. So just using some interest to kind of get their attention and get them to participate and wait and take turns with each other, this was a pretty popular activity. There's just a bunch of slides here. Next activity. And then the last one we did was called communication with words, and that was really simple too. Where I gave them a prompt, and I had them tell me who wanted to act that out. So our example was, how would you say yes without using any words? And so I gave them that example, and then I had them all imitate it. And then there were other prompts that I had them take turns practicing. Each kid got to pick one to do. I try to make them kind of funny so they would be a little bit more interested in doing that. And then we were finished. So that was one lesson. I'll show you just a quick other one. This was a fun one too. That was me too, not me, and just having them answer with a thumbs up.
I think we're having some technical difficulties, Claudia, at the
Oh, bugger. Hold on.
All right, I think we're having some technical difficulties. Yep.
I think I have too many windows open.
You're coming in and out a little bit. I just want to share that all these resources are available online, and please reach out if you have any follow-up questions. So thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Yep. Sorry for the audio problem.
All right. No worries. Next, we have Mara Rogers. She's going to be talking about speech and language therapy lessons on YouTube.
Hello. My name is Mara. I'm a speech language pathologist at 916 and also part of our consultation team. So I'm just going to show you quick a few resources that our speech and language team put together to talk about doing different speech and language lessons. So what we did is kind of came together as a team and decided to become YouTube stars, but we're creating a variety of different lessons for YouTube. So we have 3 different sort of areas. So we have social skills lessons, core vocabulary lessons for our AAC users, and then shared reading lessons that are also embedded with core vocabulary. They're good for any student, but they're really targeted for those students who are nonverbal or use AAC to communicate. So I think Megan posted the bit.ly links, but the first one is just these shared reading lessons playlist. The links will open up a whole playlist of lessons. So we have an instructional video that just describes what is shared reading, how do I do shared reading, and then a wide variety of different SLPs reading communication, reading books using core vocabulary. So right now we have 17 shared reading lessons, and these are all just public on YouTube, so you can find them, assign them to your students, or give them to classroom teachers, parents, just another resource on YouTube. For our core vocab lessons, again, the bit.ly link will link you directly to the playlist of options. We're doing 1 per week for these lessons, and they're kind of set up just like how our lessons would be in the classroom. We picked core vocab words that are high frequency, and we thought that parents would be most likely to be using at home. So things like want, help, finished, more, like, we have not like coming up, just some really go, stop and go, things like that. So you're welcome to take a look at these. They're kind of also designed so that probably a parent or communication partner would be sitting next to the student while they're completing this. And it just has a little video, an explanation, and a story. Our last set of videos are these social communication, social skills videos. These are geared more towards students who are working on social skills, so like ignoring, deciding on something to do, playing a game, etc. And again, we try to pick things that families would actually be doing at home so that they can work on those skills. The last videos we have are these AAC video models. These are a playlist of training videos. So this is more for paras or for staff. They're also located on that like 916 website as one of the para PDs. So this just has a bunch of different quick 2 to 5 minute videos describing different strategies you can use with communication devices we've mostly been using them right now for para training during distance learning, but I also will send them to parents if they have a question about like, hey, what do I do with my kid's communication device? I might send them requesting items so they can practice requesting snack time items, things like that. And then the last thing I wanted to show you that I don't believe is available yet, but we can link it later. I made this AAC website on Google Sites. So this just kind of houses all of our AAC information in one place. It's designed both for staff and for families and caregivers. So it just has some basic information. There's a lot of stuff about core vocabulary, including links to all of our videos. We have core word of the week that goes out every week. So we have links to all of those and core vocabulary materials. So we have screen grabs of different communication devices so people can print them out, etc. Embedding AAC has some different ideas for how to embed communication at home, embedding communication during playtime. Again, these are things that we're just printing and sending to families when they say, hey, what do I do with my kid during bath time? They really like going in the bath. How can I incorporate some communication into that? AAC training has links to all our training videos. These video lessons have our shared reading lessons in there. We also have some different communication tips and resources for families and caregivers. These are on the 916 distance learning website as well, that are nice, just one-page handouts for families and staff. And yeah, that's about it. Let me know if you have any questions. Hopefully you can take a minute to check these things out. Feel free to use any of the YouTube videos. They're all public, so you're welcome to just take them. That's what they're for. Yeah, that's it. Let me pause my sharing. Oh, wait, stop.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks.
Those are awesome. Talking about teaching emotions through ASL.
Okay, hello everybody. My name is Katie Kowchik. Just do a brief introduction. I am an intervener at Carner Blue Education Center, and I work with a deafblind student. My education is in American Sign Language and English interpretation, as well as psych and development of children, and also now being an intervener, I went through additional training for that. So I am going to be sharing a quick video. It's just 1 minute. It is of emotions, and they are ASL words. So let me get that up and going. One quick second. Was everyone able to see that?
Yes.
Okay, good. When I share it, I don't see anything else. So I also am trying to figure out all of this Zoom experience for you guys, for me too. So So this is one of the videos I have up online within the resources for our students and staff. Originally, I was creating these videos for the deafblind student that I work with, as well as their family, and also another nonverbal student from one of our communities, and their parents specifically asked for that. And then I thought it would be really an exciting and opportunity for any of the students or staff in our district and within Corner Blue to have access to these videos, not only for the other deaf and deafblind students that we have and nonverbal kids that we have, but for the general population of students that are hearing and use an oral language, that it would bring awareness of differing languages and cultures that are in our school and in our broader community. And it also provides a greater opportunity for peer engagement for our deaf and deafblind students and even some of our nonverbal students. Specifically with emotions, I found in my own experience and with several of the students I've worked with in the past, whether they be verbal or nonverbal deaf students or hearing students, where ASL is their second language or their L2, and being able to find ways to express needs, label emotions, express wants while they're in this state of like extreme emotion, typically negative. And I have found that using an L2 in those situations allows the students and myself, being honest, an easier way to label and communicate in that. And one of the reasons is there's a bunch of research that shows that when we're able to purposefully use a second language, that L2, that it decreases levels of stress in relation to that high emotion that they're in now, or that they're recalling from previous things that they're trying to explain. And also being able to code switch into that L2 allows for an emotional distancing, and they are able to use that vocabulary to, yeah, just to express what they're feeling and what they need. So if they're really angry and they're frustrated and they need something, whether it's like a comfort item or they want the lights shut off, different things like that, it's possible that they're gonna shut down because of that high emotion, and using their L1 might not be as easily accessible. And so having a basic level of ASL as a second language, the brain allows us to more readily express in those high anxiety or high stress and high emotional situations. And so I thought it would be really beneficial to have these available for our community at Broad. And aside from the emotion videos, I have about 10 or so other videos up, and I'm going to be working on a core word ASL vocabulary as well. So that is my bit. If anyone has any questions, you can let me know, and the folder online is accessible to anyone that has the link, so you can share it with anyone that you would like, and I will be continuing to add more resources to it moving forward.
Thank you so much to be able to access in those families. So they review some resources that are on the resource share. And if things are not up there now, they will be up there by tomorrow. So Woodbury Middle School sent in some awesome support. So check that out. They provided data collection templates. So how to take data on goals and IEPs through distance learning. They provided some ideas regarding executive functioning, so checklists that you can use through distance learning, and then how to do those distant learning checklists, as well as some information regarding a strategies class that they run. So that's social, emotional, behavioral, and student success skills. So they outline how they run that and just some of the different pieces that come into that. So thank you guys for sharing that. Next, we have Heather Cronin-Ott.
Hi, everybody. Can you hear me okay? I think, I hope.
Yes.
Good. All right. Thank you. I'm Heather Cronin-Ott. I'm an autism specialist at Carner Blue Education Center, and I work at 916. I'm going to share my screen today and just show you a few things that I have worked on with colleagues. So the first thing I want to talk about is that I'm hoping you can see this, and maybe somebody just say yes when you can. Great. Anyone?
We could see it.
Okay,
Yes.
thanks. Thank you, everybody. So this is a website that's not live yet, but that I was working on. The only reason I'm working on the website is because I had this idea to have a magic button for hidden curriculum. And so I'm going to show you, I have two different hidden curriculums, one that is more adult, adolescent, but I'm going to go into the elementary one right now. And if anybody remembers these desktop calendars, these were, every day of the school year of the year, they had a hidden curriculum prompt that you could use to discuss. And so some of the great EAs at 916 who were working through distance learning and also on light duty earlier in the year, worked to put all of these prompts into a Google Sheet. And now we have this magic button that you can click, and it randomly gives you one of the prompts from these two calendars. So in this one, there's about whatever 365 times 2 is. And then we have just all of those in terms of random prompts. So you can come in here and it could be something you could use during your morning meeting. Let me see here. So there's also an adolescent one. So that's going to have prompts that are just, different than the ones that I just showed you. And so those might be a little bit more complex. They might be a little bit more socially complex. So as soon as this website's up and running, the link will be in your CIN stuff. So I'm next going to move on to something called Tool of the Week that we use at Carner Blue. And Tool of the Week is something that's out of the Leah Kuyper's Zones Tools book. And Christy Fickus, the occupational therapist I've worked at since I started pretty much at 916, and I have collaborated on this for years. And so really I'm showing you right now the introduction to what Tool of the Week is. And then I want to show you that in the this document that we have, you can access Tool of the Week by clicking on that, and then it will bring you to this Google Drive folder. It has a lot of information in it. The introduction is right here. The key part of this, there's some smart activities that you can utilize. That's all great. There's some modified lessons. There's check-in boards. There's worksheets. But the cool thing is this Tool of the Week. And so there's about 30 tools, I think, in here. And what I like about them is that you can, let me just pick one that might be good for everybody. So particularly, let's do heavy jumps. So when you go in, there is a video model that was made by some of our staff. There's a social story here. And all of these social stories are actually on something called Tar Heel Reader, and eventually I will be getting those links into here. But so for instance, the video looks like this.
Hi everyone. Every week we practice a different tool that can help us get to or stay in the zone that is expected. This week we are going to practice heavy jumps. All you have to do is jump and land as hard as you can, just like this. There's one.
So we have a lot of different videos, different social stories. The social story kind of looks like this. So they all start the same way. We're going to practice one of our tools. We talk about what the tools are. And then at the end of the social story, we talk about you can use this tool in all the zones. So you can talk about, I can use it in the green zone when I'm calm, so that we're kind of reiterating all of that language that we use when we're talking about zones tool of the week. So I'm going to stop sharing. I want to thank Christy Fickus because she's amazing. She has written all the scripts. All of those tool of the week folders actually have scripts in it. So if you want your own staff to make videos, you have a script of how to do it, what to say. So it's cool. Thanks. If you have any questions, just let me know.
Thanks so much, Heather. And again, all those resources are available on that resource CIN site. So thank you. Last, we have Janie, and she's going to be talking about Google Slides, so a middle school daily agenda.
Hi. Let's see. I'm new to all of this too. Okay. Oh, okay.
No worries, we're all in this together.
So can everyone see this?
Not yet. So are you sharing your screen?
Okay. Oh, wait, you know what I got to do? I know what I have to do. Okay. Now okay. There you go. Navigating, becoming a digital person in this day and age. So really quickly, I did say all of this over a PowerPoint in a vid or the Google slide in a video. It's all new to me. I just needed to figure out a way for my students to get organized, and I came up with Google Slides, and I just very lamely labeled it Daily Agenda for 8th grade distance learning, because I'm the 8th grade EBD teacher at Centennial Middle School. It's my first year, and so it's my 4th year teaching. Let's see. So I guess just one of the things I did is that when I took this agenda, I made a copy and it said shell copy, and all the documents, all the slides were blank for each of the pages. So if I go to this one, it has all the classes listed for the morning, but my shell copy doesn't have any of the work listed in there. It's just blank. So then each day I would make a copy. Or sorry, that's not true. At the beginning of the week, I'd make a copy for every day of the week. And then that way I can go Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. And then I'm able to cut and paste the assignments each day. Let's see. And so our school is divided up into 6 classes. We have some core classes and then we have electives. So I kind of arranged it that way. The morning one, this is morning classes, and I have some kids that are in advanced algebra or the intermediate algebra high school class, and then regular algebra. So I just wanted to make sure that they knew those classes were available. And then we are expected to be on Google Meets every day, and I wanted a place where the kids could like write down if they were connecting with teachers, and then they could also say, hey mom, dad, or whoever's at home, that's who I connected with. And then the next slide just shows our other classes, the science and language arts. And then all my students except one have a resource class. So I wanted them to see that they need to be able to connect with their case manager if they did or did not. Our students aren't required to go online like some of the other school districts, but I make it a point to try to message them every day. And then these are just our elective classes, our language, our gym. And then if you look at the French class, it says that they need to look on Schoology for the lesson because I didn't have access to it. Sometimes Schoology is down, or it kicks you out at night if it's not the right code that was put in. A few things that I've kind of just figured out from this is that in order to set up your document, it takes a little bit to figure it out, but once you get going, you're able to kind of just, I can put this out in about 30 minutes for the whole entire week now. And then the one thing I do is we have Schoology, and I put it all in Schoology for the week, and I publish it. And then each morning I publish the day, and then I send it through Google Slides. I share it with each of the students, and I just find that it helps them not become overwhelmed. And then they just have what I need to do for that day. And then I split it up into the 4 slides also, because I wanted the students to say, oh, I can do these 2 classes, take a break, and then come back to it. Or it's actually really not a lot of work today. And then the last thing I did was I put the date on every single slide. So if the kids wanted to print it out, they would know which days it belonged to. So hopefully it's something helpful. I found it's been helpful, and some of my students tell me it's helpful. But I do like some of the other tools that everyone else has been sharing too. So I'm gonna probably integrate some of that. So thanks, that's all.
Thank you, Jamie, I appreciate that. All right, thank you guys. We had covered a ton of resources, so I really appreciate everybody that participated. Summary. All right, just one second, we'll load that up. I wanted to make sure that you guys are aware that our dates for next year are up. So you can register now. Here are the dates. And again, this information will be located on that CIN website. So please peruse that. Let us know. And then this is the survey. So please fill this out. Be sent to me. Thank you for everyone's support. I'm so super glad everybody was here to participate. Thank you so much.